if you start in a wrong foot and you told a lie to get the listing, then it's going to be a horrible experience. It's going to be bad for you. It's going to be ugly for the vendor, and you're going to end up with a client that's going to be dissatisfied, which is actually worse than where you start. To have no price goes on the property, I think it's just insanity. You wouldn't walk to a shop where you're buying your suit from or your shoes from with no price on it. If they did that, you'd be like, these people are going insane, right? We've been doing it for years. No price guides on a property, nothing on property that we market, right? Not us, but our industry. We've been doing it for hundreds of years.
Still doing it.
Still doing it.
Welcome back.
Great to be back, Bowie. Hello, hello.
Hello. Good week?
It's been a great week. Yeah, busy, but amazing week.
Yeah. All right. Today, how to get the sale.
How to get the sale. Managing buyers and vendors. Is that the topic?
That's the one. Last week we discussed getting the listing. We discussed prospecting.
Sure.
Building that client database. So getting the sale.
Yeah.
And today, because back in the peak, 2022 in New Zealand, right? Every man and his dog could sell a house.
That is true.
Average agents, poor agents could sell their house.
Yeah.
Today, I want to talk about a market we're experiencing today, because you need a skill set to be able to sell in a market like this. You know, you got high interest rates, high supply, lower demand, right?
Yeah.
So I want to delve deep into that.
Absolutely.
So you say your goal when selling a property is to create raving fans from both ends.
Absolutely.
You want happy vendors, happy buyers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in experiences where I've been trying to buy a home and I can tell they don't care about me. So I find that it's an interesting dynamic. So you want to get the best price for the vendor.
Yeah.
And you want to keep the buyers happy, make sure they get a good price. It's a weird dynamic. So how do you manage both vendor and buyer expectations?
Yeah. I'll come back to today's market in a minute, where the expectation is from the vendors and the buyers. Coming back to the vendor wants the best possible price, and I'll suggest the buyers the vendor wants the best possible price and best experience ever. The buyer appreciates a great experience. They don't mind paying slightly more for it, from my experience. Because buyers love the house, they want to buy the property, want to give them the amazing experience. They know that our goal is to give the vendors the best possible price, and they don't mind paying that if we upfront, if we work with integrity, if we tell people the truth. Because what happens most of the time when disgruntled buyers there is because the vendor didn't tell the buyer, the agent didn't tell them the truth, or they hide some information or whatever it may be, just to get the deal across the line. So now going back to the market, 2021, 2022, like you said, the market was I'm telling you, it was crazy market, because people just walked through the open home with their offers in their hand and just pass your offers over. Yeah. So it was like anybody, like you said, you didn't need much. Anybody could just put a sign at the front, put it on Trade Me, and get the house sold, and get it sold for a reasonable price. In today's market, to get the property sold and get the best possible price for it and make sure the vendor is happy as well as the buyer is happy, it needs a lot more skill than just getting a property listed.
Yeah.
And it all starts from the beginning. When you sit down with a client, like we did a presentation in the last episode, telling the clients what they need to know, not what they want to hear, because at the moment, the price expectation of the vendors, most of the vendors, because we came off the peak, right?
Yeah.
It was up here, and the buyers, they know the market, there's so much options there. So there's a big gap between the vendors' expectation and what the buyers are prepared to pay for it.
Yeah.
And the best agents on the planet are the ones that they can bridge the gap without having disgruntled vendor and disgruntled buyer. And that all starts in your listing presentation, having conversation, a frank conversation with what their home is worth, not giving inflated price, because you give inflated price, that ends up in disaster later down the track.
Yeah. So vendors at the moment, are they still still wanting the peak prices?
A lot of them. From my clients, the people that I deal with, like, because I have conversation with them from get go, that the peak is already gone.
Yeah.
And most people know that the peak is gone, and their home is probably worth 15, maybe 20% less than the peak.
Yeah.
They still want to get the best possible price for it. But if an agent goes to the property and appraise the property at the peak price when it was a peak just to get the listing, then the vendor's like, okay, the professional's telling me that's what it's worth. Home is not going to sell, number one. You're going to waste a whole lot of time. And then the most important thing, you're going to end up with disgruntled clients that they would have sold the property at the market value, but the reason you priced it so high, or you give them expectations so high, they didn't end up with a sale.
Yeah.
So it actually cost them marketing money, cost them time, and you ended up with having a disgruntled client.
Yeah. But you're still getting that in today's market, where in that listing presentation, they will say you can still get these high prices, but you're setting yourself up for failure down the track if you're not honest.
That's
simple as that. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And our people that listen to us talking, they're like the smart brigade, the people that do the way we do things. I hope, right? Talk with integrity, build, sell with a noble purpose.
Yeah.
And always tell the truth, work with integrity. Because obviously we want to be in the business for a long time, be successful, not just successful for a short period of time, in the peak when the market is hot, but no, you're being successful all the time, every time. And that what makes you successful long term is when you tell the truth, when you take care of people, when you look after the buyers, and then manage them well right through the process.
Yeah. Okay. So with the sellers, I know your properties are always beautifully presented. On average, they're on the market less days than other listings. How do you create that premium experience for the buyers coming through the property?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do, which makes a huge difference, and I have no idea who's told our industry to have no price guides on the property. I think it's just insanity. You wouldn't walk to a shop where you're buying your suit from or your shoes from with no price on it. If they did that, you'd be like, these people are going insane, right? We've been doing it for years. No price guides on a property, nothing on property that we market, right? Not us, but our industry. We've been doing it for hundreds of years.
Still doing it.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do, majority of listings, we've got price, at least price guide on them. Because you get more buyers through the property, you get buyers in the same right price bracket, and then you end up with more offers. Hence, our homes sit on the market for shorter period of time. That would be one of the most important that we do. Other things like, we present property beautifully. We've got an amazing photographer and videographer, Santi. He does great job, obviously. Our homes stand out. Our sign stands out.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to talk about how amazing we are and our brand and things. Yeah, those things play part in it. But the thing is, like, us as agents, our reputation is so important. Like one agent from Auckland, she was talking to me yesterday, and she was saying, like, do I auction this property, or do I do a 2 weeks price is sharp and do a 2-week campaign? I said, what do you think is best for the client?
Yeah.
Everybody else in this company auctions. I said, no, don't forget about what everybody else does. What do you think is best for the clients? Because it's your name on the door. The brand doesn't give a damn about what happens to the client. They want to get paid.
Yeah.
So you, as an agent, you've got to do every advice that you give to the client is what's best for the client. Because if you do that, just have the same mentality of like the brand that you work with has, you're not going to be in the business for long at all.
Yeah. Because, like, if you were auctioning your homes back in the peak, that would work, right? Because you had a lot of buyers coming in. It would send the price higher. But, like, in this market, I mean, even in the peak, would you recommend auctioning?
Yeah. Not everything, Bowie. Not everything. I tell people there's not auction for every home. There's not deadline for every home. Like, horses for courses, as I tell my clients, right? a first home property doesn't make sense to me to auction. Why?
Yeah.
Because the goal is, if you're selling anything, to expose it to as many buyers as you possibly can, right? And I know, ask 100 of buyers, first home buyers, I reckon 99 of them will say, no, I'm not going to go to auction because number one, it's the first home. I can't go to auction. Number two is the government is what's the first home grant? They usually pay you, don't approve you for auctions. So if you're only dealing with 1% of the buyers, how can you maximize the value of it? The goal for us, the reason people are hiring us, is to maximize the value of their house, right? They're not hiring us just to get the house sold because they can do that themselves. So no, there's not every home should be auctioned, even in the peak or deadline. Like in the peak, we're selling houses, first home properties. We're not auctioning it because we knew that 99% of buyers not going to come to auction. I don't want to just have a bidding war against two people because there might have been another guy who would have paid $50,000 more, but he couldn't have come to auction.
Yeah.
Where when we sell prestige homes, which we do sell a lot of them, then it made sense for us to sell a $2 million plus house over in somewhere up on the hills, because I had buyers from Wellington, I had buyers from Auckland, I had buyers from all around Christchurch, all around the world really, looking to buy. Will make sense because those people had the cash, and when it's first home, not first home properties, majority of them could go to the bank and borrow money while they still own their house.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been like this too. Like whatever advice that I give to the clients is what's best for them. We don't do it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do it
No.
because it's your career as an agent on the line.
And even if you're in an agency where everyone says auction your home, always look at what's best for the client and approach it that way.
100%.
Don't be influenced by potentially wrongdoings.
100%. And you know what? When I was young, when you're around people that do things, I'm guilty of it myself. I used to sell first home properties. Like I started as selling like little units over in Linwood and Aranoe and all those kind of areas, right? Nothing wrong with it. They were not auction properties.
Yeah.
But everybody else in that office was auctioning. One day, I'll tell you a story, Bowie. I had 5 auctions because I was the number 1 agent in the office, and I was selling little houses, but I was selling a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
Like 10 to 12 a month. I used to sell. And I had 5 auction, and all of my auctions are on the list.
Yeah.
None of them sold. And I was so disappointed. The auctioneer got paid, so he was laughing.
Yeah.
The owner of the business got paid because he would have got part of the auctioneer fee. The only person that was upset was like my client was upset, and I was like devastated. From there on, I did some research. Obviously, I got to open my eyes and we shouldn't auction first home properties.
Yeah.
And then when you question things rather than just following the status quo, then you're like, it doesn't make sense for me not to auction these first home properties because the property that I'm selling is not different to the property this guy is selling, who's selling most of the houses that's worth $2 million plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I'm the number 1 agent but I wasn't selling the one house that he was selling a month. I was selling 12 little houses a month.
Yeah.
But my houses were not auctioned. So when I started doing what was best, once I found out what was best, then I became I did super good because my house was sold quickly.
Yeah.
My clients ended up very pleased with the advice that I used to give them. And I still do, obviously, but where I was.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if you treat this business as a marathon rather than a short-term gain, and stop following what other people are doing, you become successful. You do well whilst you end up with great buyer experience and seller experience, because the whole thing is about how do we manage. Today's conversation is about how do we manage buyers and sellers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And if you treat the buyers well, they will eventually be your sellers. So, and I think agents forget that. They're just all about the short-term gains in that moment. Let's get the sale, no matter what.
Absolutely. So when you give people the experience, right? You come through an open home. For example, I talk about world-class open home. We got 12, 13 points of what makes a world-class open home.
Yeah.
What makes a world-class open home? You got a beautiful stand there,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've got information about your property, about your company that you work for. You've got a music on. You got a candle on, right? So you create this ambience,
Mm-hmm.
right? And ideally you've got two people at an open home. You've got your assistant standing on the front greeting people to come in, and then you actually have a conversation. He takes the names, and then you build rapport with buyers.
Yeah.
And once you give that experience to buyers, because also the other side of the coin is the buyers actually, 1 out of 4 of them, they're actually just visiting the property to find an agent that's going to suit selling their house.
Is that right?
Yeah, 1 out of 4. There was research done actually.
Ah.
I'm not sure who did it, but it keeps coming up that 1 out of 4. And in my experience, it's probably more than one out of 4, because the properties that I sell is more than average sale prices.
Yeah.
So most people that come into our properties, they'd be researching to see what agent will suit me. And the other thing is, even if they're not researching, they might have their house on the market. They might not be satisfied with the buyer with the agent they have, or they might be just thinking about buying now.
Yeah.
And then sell later down the track. So
That's a good point. Like if you're in the same region or the same suburb and you're selling your home and you're like, it's not selling, let's go to this other agent's home, see how they operate. It's quite a smart way of doing it. And like you have to be on your A game too, as an agent all the time.
you ought to, like we've spoken about the past episodes, right?
Yeah.
Like, those few things that you got to do. Like, one of the things to keep you on your A game is that morning exercise that we talk about, right?
Yeah.
Taking care of your health and all those things. Being what I call a professional athlete.
Yeah. So what happens like in today's market? Homes are staying on the market longer now, right? So how are you managing the vendors' expectations? Like the home's not selling.
Yeah.
You've done everything you can and you've followed your method to get a great sale.
Yeah.
What's your strategy then to get the sale? Are you changing your process? Are you saying, hey, we need more time here, the market's not performing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not all our homes we do so within 17, 18 days, right? That's an average what we do. But when a property is on the market for a long period of time, there's a bunch of things that you do. Like, you make sure you contact your vendors every day with an update. Doesn't matter if they've been on the market for 1 week, 2 weeks, or 6 weeks, or 12 weeks, or 18 weeks. They want to know what's happening, right? How many email inquiries they got, what things that you do to recreate or refresh the interest. Are you changing the price, or are you pushing it up on Trade Me or Reels.co.nz, or are you sending it to the buyer that already been through the property? Are you sending him an email or sending him a text? So as long as you keep in touch with the vendors, and I tell people, like, if a home is not selling, it's either price, the presentation, or the way it's marketed.
Yeah.
And majority of the cases, the agent, because the agents, they got to have what I call the guts to be able to go sit down there, have that frank conversation. Hey, we know you were expecting 1.15 for your house. The feedbacks come back at around 1 million. How do you feel? Well, we go in Australia. We're pretty keen to sell. What do you think we should do, Nathan? I think we should drop the price. Because if other homes in the areas are selling, if the other houses in the areas are selling and new one is not selling, it's majority of the cases, it's potentially overpriced, right?
Yeah. So you're keeping that open dialogue with them at all times, because I know after each open home you're talking to buyers, right? And then you're feeding back those expectations to the vendors. So you're always keeping that. You're being honest.
Yeah.
We're going back to that honesty.
Absolutely.
Like, don't lie.
Like I'm saying, we see that before, right? If you start in the wrong foot and you told a lie to get the listing, then it's going to be a horrible experience. It's going to be bad for you. It's going to be ugly for the vendor, and you're going to end up with a client that's going to be dissatisfied, which is actually worse than where you started.
Yeah.
So I told my clients, every client that we list a property for, we tell them, like, now more than ever, the market is not straightforward. We got to navigate through it. So if I'm not getting interest in your property, I'm going to keep coming back to you until we create interest.
Yeah.
It's usually the price presentation or the way the property is promoted.
Yeah.
And majority of cases, it is the price. We put your property realistic price on it always. We do thorough research before we do that. But if it's not online, if
Yeah.
I'm not getting any offers, if people are not talking about offers, then we are obviously overpriced.
Yeah.
So keep going back with the feedback, the truth, and people when they put their house on the market and invest 3,000-4,000 on a market, and they usually want to sell, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some tough vendors out there who want, to get a really good price and they're just not willing to drop. So how do you deal with those vendors?
A real good price, what I tell people is like, what the buyer's prepared for today. A real good price 3 years ago, 2 years ago was a different price. Like I'm selling a house, like I saw houses every day as well, right? So I come across exactly the same thing, right? At the moment, one of our clients doesn't need to sell. His house was probably worth 2 million plus. Now we haven't got a buyer at 165. The best offer we had was 152. Now I've been keep going back. Would have a conversation with him. It's like, you know what? It's 152 is where it's at. Like, what do you think? What do you want to do? I think we're gonna take it off the market. What are you expecting to do? What's gonna happen? Like, what are you gonna do? I know you want to sell. In 6 months' time, they're gonna go back to the market. Okay, well, you want to go back to the market in 6 months' time. Do you think the market's gonna change? I think the market's going only one way now.
Yeah.
Which is south. You want to settle for 145. Well, I'm not interested. I don't care. I'll hold on to it for 10 years. Well, if that's the case, like, that's okay. That's fine. We'll take it off the market and we'll sell your house for you in 10 years' time. No problem.
Yeah.
I'll sell your house now. I'll sell your house in 10 years' time. That's no problem. No problem at all. As long as they know you're doing their best.
Yeah.
As long as they know that you're doing your best for them.
How often do they think the grass is greener on the other side and they go over to another agency to sell their home?
Yeah.
Like, would that be the main reason why they do it? Because the house has been on the market too long and they're not willing to follow your advice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Majority of the cases, and I'm not saying that just because it's us, but majority of the cases when clients work with us, they like take their property off the market, they come back to the market with us.
Yeah.
Because we've been in touch with them, we turn every stone over. But the ones that make go with another agency, then they will come across exactly the same issue. Because I feel like if a home is not selling, it's usually the market. Usually the market is listing what the vendor's expectation is, especially when the market is in a downturn like it is now. I was speaking about this a long time ago. There's going to be a big gap. So if a home is, if they're going to go from one agent to another agency, they're going to come across exactly the same obstacle.
Yeah.
The buyer's not going to pay unless there's, sometimes a fluke happens. A buyer comes in from somewhere.
Yeah. Which could happen. Yeah.
Which could potentially happen. But very often when you're in touch with your clients, you've told them the truth, and you keep in navigating through the market alongside them. They usually don't go anywhere else.
Cool.
Because they've known that you've given you best advice. So coming back to managing the vendors is you got to manage them, vendor manage from the start, from the get-go.
Yeah.
Build a relationship with them, make sure you tell them the truth, make sure you work closely with them right through the process. And then managing the buyers. Now negotiation is very, very different than what it was. There was no negotiation back in the peak. Now you got to be in touch with them. You got to be able to. You got to invite the buyers back to open homes. You got to make the homes available all hours of the day, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So once you find a buyer, you got to help them get across the fence now, because these 42 others on the market. Now you got to sell this product.
Yeah.
Right. It's not going to sell itself now, especially because the market has changed and buyers have got options.
Yeah.
And buyers, oh no, I'm just going to wait.
I think one thing that I've seen with, your marketing, you sell with emotion. Even in the copy, the videos, the photos, it creates that emotion. I think that's important. And you say, buyers start logically and they finish emotionally. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm just negotiating with somebody at the moment. So this is a beautiful house they like. I've got an offer, somebody who's got an offer on this property. They've got a house theirs in Napier. They've got their house on the market they're trying to sell, but I've got an escape clause in this property. And this Bob come through this house And the thing about Bob is he's got his grandkids just down the road,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
200 meters. You know, we're talking about emotional. Like my job is like, get him back through the property, which I am on Thursday at 11 a.m. to have a look at the property. They're not gonna have a conversation. It's like, how good it would be for him to see his grandkids. The grandkids can walk to his house after work or after school, whatever. That is what I mean by emotional and trying to get people sold emotional. Like, one of the other guys was talking about this guy was a surfer, was buying a house. So he went to the house like 3 days in a row and seen him the video of the property of the surf every morning to this guy who was a surfer, saying, look at this could be you, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it takes a lot more than just buyers rocking up through sell the house. You need an agent to actually, and as an agent yourself, like, you need to be working so hard and getting this people emotionally attached to the property, so they didn't go and buy the one down the road, like the guy who was trying to sell that property to the surfer, or what I'm doing, trying and sell this home to a lovely buyer of ours, which is, I know it's good for them because the grandkids can walk to them. How good would that be?
Yeah.
Right?
It's similar to what my parents are going through. He has a house in Napier. They're looking to buy up there because the grandkids up there. So let me know after this.
Okay.
But
so,
it's similar. They want to buy in an area that they don't love, right? But the grandkids there, and they probably are willing to, spend a little bit more than the market to be there.
So if they looking at Napier, right, they may like this house over here, but this house not as nice as theirs, but it's like 20 meters away from your sister's house. Then if an agent is great, they can keep on bringing Mr. and Mrs. Bowman over to this house. Say, hey, have a look at this. Your grandkid could be walking to your house right now.
Yeah.
Then that would make that agent a great agent.
Yeah. When does that become like, I don't know, I'm not going to say it's a dirty tactic. You're just being honest, right?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, you are playing on their emotions.
Yeah, you don't want to be pissed, of course,
No,
right? You don't want to. Okay, they love the house. They're just taking their time a little bit, and if they're not going to come and buy the house, you're going to sell it to somebody else. So you can actually like talk to them, like, hey, Bob, like, I'm going to sell this house to somebody else. I'd love you to buy it. I really do. You've got to really want to help this person. Because if you're trying to play tactics, just get a sale. Well, they're gonna know they're gonna know that you're pushy and you just want to get a sale. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about doing it with integrity, doing it because it's good for them.
Yeah.
Doing it because you believe in the house.
Yeah. Awesome. So you talked about price guides, very important. What's the biggest mistake apart from maybe using price guides? Using the wrong method of sale that you see with sales or agents with their listings. Yeah.
What's the biggest mistakes that
you see apart from not using price guides and using the wrong method to sale? Is there anything else other mistakes they make?
I tell people, like, if we are getting, it's a privilege to be able to have access to somebody's house. It's an important thing when we get to sell somebody's house or investment property, they hand you over the key. You've got no right to be late to be an open home. You got no right to miss a buyer who's calling you and you don't return somebody's phone call. You've got to follow every single person up that comes through the open home. You've got to have all the information on the website available for buyers. You got to make it as easy as you possibly can. So one of the important mistakes that we have, the agents make, I believe, is like, they're not on the A game. And if you're selling houses, I don't think it's not kind of like, if you're working somewhere, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with working in a factory, but if you're in a factory, you miss something, well, that's okay because you can fix that, right? If you miss a buyer inquiry that was going to pay the best more money than the buyer that you potentially going to get for this house, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 more, then you've actually done the service to this client, and you shouldn't do that. It's like you can't have a surgeon who's half invested in doing your surgery, right? Might cut you in the wrong place. So I think one of the mistakes that agents make, they're half committed.
Yeah.
They're not committed, and they haven't got a proper system to follow up with the buyers. They haven't got a routine to follow up with the vendors. It's like, oh, it's just a house. We're just gonna set it. We're gonna get in touch with the vendors whenever I feel like it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not a structure process like a true professional in play.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, that's a real good question. I think it's because, just like I started real estate, most places you go to, they're like, okay, you go find a vendor, find a seller, and get the property live, and then there's no instruction, there's no direction. So I think that's where most of our agents or agencies let us down. I can talk about this because I am that agent that had no direction.
Yeah.
Zero, nothing. And we created this system from like scratch that nothing falls through the crack. So I think it is weird. It's like I say, like, it's the person that runs the organization, runs the company. Because an agent comes in here, they will do what I do, right? They'll follow the system that I have. They're not going to do any better. So I think it's the agencies, if I can blame them, it's their fault, I think. Yeah.
Lack of direction.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's like, it's just a carelessness, I think. I think, like, you may look professional from the outside, but behind the closed doors, it's not professional. It's just a chaos. There is no systems in place. There is no routine. People can turn up to offices whenever they like.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, I'm on a independent contractor. I can do whatever I like. No, I said, like, I think I need you to be committed, like 100%.
Yeah. I think also, like, agents, like you touched on before, you're selling the client's greatest asset, and they have many memories there. They've probably loved that home, and they want to sell it and move on.
Yeah.
And, like, you do need to do the best for those people. You're not selling, like, something small here.
You're not selling a pair of shoes. Even a car you're not selling, right?
Yeah, this is their biggest decision in their life, potentially up to that point. So you need to treat it that way.
100%. You have got no right to miss a phone call from a buyer and not return it. You've got no right. I've seen agents run into an open home late. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, right? Like, you got to be there 15, 20 minutes prior to an open home. Then make sure the lights are on. Make sure the candle is on. Make sure the music is on. Make sure you sitting in front door, inviting people to come through. Like 15 minutes before. You have got no right to turn up there 15 minutes late.
Yeah. Take some pride in your work as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice. All right. Is there anything else you want to add to?
I feel like we covered everything.
Yeah,
We covered like, how to manage buyers and vendors quite diligently, I suggest, right?
Yeah. I agree. All right. Thank you, Nathan.
Another great episode.
Another podcast done. If you're listening, make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Give us a like. Comment down in the questions below. We've not actually done a question in a while, so I'll bring a question to next week's podcast. And if you're listening on Spotify, make sure, if you liked it, give us a 5-star review. It really helps the channel. All right. Thanks for listening to Next Gen Agent. Thanks, Nathan.
Have a great rest of the week.